Um, Good evening. It is 10:55 p.m. on September 14th, 2022. Yo, we're back. It's a miracle. I have to set up a few
Amazing.
things. I'm gonna send a tweet. That tweet is sent. I'm gonna send a text. The text is sent. Hi internet. It's your friend Chris Kennard, along with my brother from another mother, Aelor, aka the Living Abstraction, aka Arc and Tell. We are back to hopefully complete our conversation, discussion, and reflection on 2012 and all the music that made it wonderful. My friend, how are you this evening? It has been quite some time since we were last here in our little boxes. So what's going on with
Yeah,
you?
yeah, it had been quite a time, but and all the more the reason that I relished what we were able to do all those months back. And yeah, quite a lot's been happening, been able to do some of my own independent projects, film wise here and there. And it, it's, it's like I'm still kind of like reconciling with where to put things right now, but at the same time, it's kind of a miracle that I've been able to get this far in the first place. I've been incredibly thankful for whatever goodwill has been sent my way to be able to accomplish certain things, and continuing to ask for continued of it so that I can finish off this year. It's been an interesting time. Good good moments, bad moments, but lots of cool stuff. We've like outside of doing this, also being able to exchange stuff through through stuff like StreamYard, where every now and then you can
Beat
catch either
Sense,
of us.
Station Head. Yeah.
Yeah, and just do all of that. It's interesting, like good moments, bad moments, but like the good moments, I have been incredibly thankful for this year. And one great moment that I'm so thankful to be back in is doing this with you. And oh my goodness, man, to anyone who's been keeping track with us, it's it's been interesting in us analyzing our relationship with these songs and the people we were back then, who we are now, our relationship with these artists and stuff like that. And you know, and I think one thing that's just been great is just been the honesty we in terms of like our evolution as people and how it kind of ties in with these songs. And I just continue, and I was incredibly like looking forward to the honesty you would have for this next song that on
Hold
your
on.
side.
Hold
Yeah.
on. Hold on. Don't bury the lead as it were. We'll save the content for just a little bit of
Hmm.
explanation on my part. I
Hmm.
disappeared for a time. I don't think I've been active on YouTube for like the last almost 6 months, if I can exaggerate for the sake
Hmm.
of the drama. Like, um, I want to say to anyone who might be listening that like if you don't have like your connection to the internet like securely fastened, like please do so. I At the time when I was still in a relationship, because I'm not in one now, I was supposed to like prepare for an at-home date and I did not do so. And in my haste to like make things right, I locked myself out of my Google account and I thought, oh, I'm cooked. Like everything that I've been working for, everything that I've like this like kept after all these years, like is gone forever. And I was like living my life without a like active Google account. Like I was moving, I was still using like the laptop that I had at the time. This is a new computer that I'm using at this moment, but I
Hmm.
was just like, oh, I gotta like use the guest mode on the Chromebook. I gotta like just like hand type like my address, my job's address every freaking day that I wake up because it's like, ooh, which bus is coming, which bus is not coming. And if it did not come, I had to stay out there until the next one did. You know what I'm saying? Not checking emails, not updating my calendar. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
outrageous. Like at my big age of 30 years old, it's unacceptable behavior. And thankfully, by the grace of the Google gods, I'm back in this thing and I'm never leaving. So like if you're like me and you're like, what's my actual email password? Please, please, please write that down, eat it, or like put it in your diary or something so you won't end up like me and lose time. Like
Mhm.
life isn't all about making content, but it's what I'd like to do instead of what I'm currently doing. And I'm sure Aelor can relate to that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Mhm.
So, enough of that BS. We're back. We're thankful for anyone who might be listening and hearing us or seeing us. Thank you for perceiving us. Tonight's rundown includes the back half of our 12 for 12 honorary mentions playlist on Spotify, which you can find in the doobly doo, which includes
Mhm.
but is not limited to Don't Look Back by Miguel, Just Give Me a Reason by Pink and Nate Ruess, The Gift of Guilt by Gojira, Break My Heart by Estelle and Rick Ross, The One Who Broke Your Heart by David Byrne and St. Vincent, and Harbor Lights by
Mhm.
a Silent Film.
Mhm.
Elor, you get to decide who gets to go first.
Oh, well, okay. I am like I obviously have a pretty good opinion on, the choices I have made. And this is I say this not out of false humbleness. I am just completely floored by just the straight up eclectic punch of your last three choices. I mean, seriously, folks, this guy he goes for the alternative R&B, then he like gives you straight to it on the pop tip, and then after that he goes to the technical black metals, groove black metal stuff. Like, man, I don't know. Like, I mean, hey, okay, my stuff, it's eclectic. It has its stuff here and there, but man, like, I don't like, once again, I don't think I don't know if and I stand by my choices, but I don't know if I straight up gave it to you raw the way this man did with his last three choices, man. It's I'm incredibly fascinated by these choices, man, and I look forward to you spilling the details about like why these songs represent, if not in our main list, but why they still represent something special to you, man.
Okay, if you say that, then you have to pick one of the three, and we'll go from there. From my
Um,
half of the list, like which one do you want to start with?
yeah, I say, let's start it straight with the top spot. Don't Look Back by Miguel, which, man, okay, and I mean, okay, I have my own relationship with Miguel. Like, I remember Miguel even back in like late 2000s era. He was bald. He had to get a feature from J. Cole, and I don't. It's like I know it's not looked back. It's not an era that's looked back on the most fondly among Miguel fans. I mean, I don't think they hated it. They kind of just because, okay, he didn't have as much creative freedom with his first album, and yet in spite of that, there were still some really solid songs that I still consider some of his best. I mean, one song that I definitely remember back in my fast food days, embarrassingly singing, and one of my coworkers was like, "It's like, really, that's how you feel?" I think um girls like you, which, the superior Girls Like You, not that other, not, you know
No shade
um
to PJ
yeah,
Morton,
but
though. No shade to
yeah,
PJ Morton, but
yeah, but yeah, but girls like it's like girls remind is it that girls like you remind me that I'm lonely, no one to play connect for with me, and man, just a brilliant song that was less about a breakup, but just more about, the painful attempt to try and find love and admitting to feeling as if like
It's
a
some
part of
Morrissey type
you is,
shit.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And and I remember hearing
Fuck you,
that, and I
Morrissey.
was, yeah, like Peggy forever, Peggy forever, if you know,
Period.
but yeah, I remember listening to that and thinking, man, this guy is onto something. So even though the first album is not,
Good evening.
hey, shout out to me, so yeah, even though the first album isn't looked back that fondly among fans and stuff like that, I still think it has some solid songs.
Agreed.
Once again, girls like you, hey, soundtrack to my life. Love that song forever.
Rip.
And so when he then gets to his sophomore album, Kaleidoscope, and he has the freedom, it's amazing how he came out with something that was not just equal to I consider for what I consider an underrated debut album, but just was maybe was a kind of overshadowed a bit by Frank Ocean, maybe possibly,
No.
but
You have an
but
argument
still
there, but no.
okay, yeah, okay, but
I,
still
I,
like it made waves, man.
I'll make. Wait.
It
I'll go back to
was
that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, okay, and once again, I think the whole concept of alternative R&B has always existed in some way. In some way, we just called it different things. We called it
We
neo
called it
soul
neo
sometimes.
soul.
Yeah, and all that stuff and all that stuff. But to really kind of spearhead this new definition of what we considered our alternative R&B, and it just comes across so beautifully in this track, which, okay, kind of has a bit of a Prince influence, kind of,
Yes.
but you
Yes.
know, yeah, yes, yes, and it really brings in the dramatics, the boo, do, 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 do. I have to say, I'd say, considering okay, I mean, granted, by 2012, they were, like, I think this was when the last Twilight movie came out, so the
Oh my
vampire thing
gosh.
was kind of going down a bit. But I'm just saying, how did this song not end up in a vampire movie, man? It's that energy, man. I don't
Are 100% right.
like okay, like, hey, just putting it out there to whatever, to anyone who kind of has the same ambitions I do. In the 2030s, when we end up making period pieces about the 2010s, I know, yeah, it's gonna happen.
No,
Like,
I rebuke that.
just I'm just putting it out there. Put this song in a vampire 2010 period piece. It all works out, man. It all works out, man.
Three
So
words.
yeah,
Three
so
words.
yeah.
It's Morbin time.
Exactly. Like,
Forgive
please,
me.
someone. Yeah, but yeah. So once again, it's just so dynamic. It's so dynamic. It's so ambitious. This really and Miguel, he is going on the very interesting ride these instrumentals are taking him into, and yeah, and and just if the song just ended there, I would give it high marks anyway. I would give it high marks. I would say,
That outro,
brilliant,
though.
Miguel. But then the outro, and like, I can't. I never thought it was possible to update a a masterpiece song of the 1960s psychedelia scene, which I consider one of the greatest subgenres of rock and roll ever.
Agreed.
you know, I never thought it was possible to update an already such a beautiful song and do it complete. that makes complete sense to where music was going in the 2010s. Didn't didn't feel the need to recreate the classic bass line. Did was able to come up with a really interesting melody that worked for that. And once again, and Miguel, he's just gliding in those vocals, man. Like, and I'm like, yo, you see, did this, and see, this is it. This is why we had to re 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 reconfigure the whole concept of alternative R&B, man, because like we were not going into we were going into the 2010s kicking and screaming, and Miguel,
Yes.
he just had that, man. He's genius, man. It's genius. So, what does this song mean to you, man?
Okay, I have so many things to say about Miguel and this song in particular. First thing about Miguel, um, this man not only gave us just like a brief like just a new version of like Time and Season by the Zombies. You know what I'm
Mhm,
saying? Giving
mhm,
giving us dream pop realness, right? What like would later on cover like Benny and the Jets by Elton John with like his cosign because it appeared on a reissue of Elton John. I don't really care for the Wale verse, and if you've heard it, you know why I don't.
mhm,
And then he also like because of like the forward thinking of a Lord appeared on a song with the Chemical Brothers, like This Is Not a Game for the Hunger Games, which is the production of that song is bonkers bananas town. And like I
mhm,
cannot believe that like it didn't get the love that it deserved when it dropped. So that's Miguel. You know what I'm saying? When you look like him, when you dress like him, when you sing like him, who's gonna tell you anything? They won't. You know what I'm saying? Like like the lane he carved out for himself makes complete sense. And now when you mentioned like, oh, like you could say that like Miguel is like overshadowed by Frank when Channel Orange comes out. I disagree only in the sense that we were hearing Adorn every day on the radio when it dropped,
oh,
right?
yes,
And even
yes,
though like Frank
yes.
had like, you know, like had like his coming out moment, had a like an incredible album, first album,
Mhm,
and he had Think About You, Forrest Gump, Pyramids, uh, you know, like Pink Matter, like Super Rich Kids, all that
mhm,
stuff. He was like, it was still like under the water. So you know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Like there was, it's like it's like Miguel like makes music for hipsters, but like has that crossover appeal for mainstream blackness. You know what I'm saying?
mhm, mhm,
Which one could say that Frank never had, because you're not going to hear Nikes on like your local R&B station, but but it doesn't need, but it has the streams to like you know get over that hurdle that most artists in a
mhm,
Miguel space could not do. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
now we come to the song. Like I was thinking about it in my head just now, and I'm surprised I never felt this way like previously. That like "Don't Look Back" by Miguel is the alt R&B version of "Vampires Will Never Hurt You" by My Chemical Romance. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that just like a
Yes,
whoa kind of moment?
yes,
Because like
yes.
it's so melodramatic, and it's like
Mhm,
it when I think of like the band Nightlife, shout out to Baltimore, and like just like their quest to make really great soul punk, this is a song that like fits right into that subgenre of just like whoa, why are things so just like tense? And I have to like shout out my boy Gabriel for putting me on to this song, because like we were hanging out with his older brother all the time, like we were like studying the Bible and things of that nature. But it's like, yo, put this song on, and I'm like, hey, this song goes, what the heck? And like it, that song encouraged me to like check out the entire album, and like we listened to it, like you have a great feature from Alicia Keys. You have songs like Candles in the Sun, and like you have
yes,
like this
yes,
just
yes.
like
S-
this
You
very
know,
just like before we even get down that road, like
mhm,
only a guy like Miguel can make a song like Kitty Is Mine and make it an interlude, and like no one's gonna tell him shit. Like he's
yeah,
not Life Jennings or Pleasure P, but like he
yeah,
can do that shit because he knows he's the guy, you know?
yeah,
And so when we get a song like this, he can afford to take this risk and just pop it into like the track list, and nobody bats an eyelash, because we folks even listening to albums that intently in 2012. No,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
because I'm thinking like there's no way a song like this where he's like just like his vocals are just soaring and like just like the climax of the record, and like it go completely just like, yeah, like new Miguel. So it definitely wasn't a sophomore slump. That's all I gotta say about that. Like
Oh,
he
absolutely.
if
Yeah.
you're like if you are a solo act and you're like you
Mhm.
make songs and you make music in this vein, you should be studying the Kaleidoscope Dream. Like it's a shame what's happened to Miguel nowadays. It's almost as if like his 15 minutes are up. But like I know that
Yeah.
when he's going to deliver material, he's going to give you vocals. I almost wish he could have a run similar to like a Gabriel, like who's that one R&B singer that put a crawl. I have to look up his name real quick.
Crawl.
Baby, when you crawl around on me.
Um,
Do. I'm looking him up right now because it's killing
okay.
me. He has like that
Mhm.
three name, like he's his government name. I'm looking it up on my computer right now. Please forgive me. Gabriel something or other. Please
Mhm.
let me see. He put out that really great Spanish rap song called Aguita. What is that brother's name?
Hmm.
Let me
Mhm.
see. I'm surprised
Mhm.
they never worked together. Let me see. Yep, it's Gabriel Garzon. I had it, but I forgot it. Let me see. Aguita. Gabriel. Yeah, Gabriel Garzon Montano. Like,
Mhm.
I feel that his trajectory was similar to Miguel, but just more deeper into like that hipster space. And I'm
Mhm.
like, damn, like I wish those two like maybe like brush shoulders at some point because like I feel that I feel that for if I could be rude and dismissive, Miguel is just like the new version of a Neo. You know what I'm saying? Just like a compelling writer, stellar
Mhm.
vocalist, snappy dresser, but the star power. If there's something lacking to the star power, and like Miguel was already on like um a sound record label, and like again, every time he
Mhm.
drops, he has like the opportunity for radio play. But why wasn't uh Skywalker getting like the replay value of an Adorn or Coffee? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It wasn't. Like great video. Like I even like got like a like from Mark Hamill about it. But like by that point, like he's just like he is a industry standard and nothing more. But I think
Mhm.
we've spoken long enough on one
Mhm.
freaking song on the list. I want to pass the ball over to you, sir, and I want to pick the song. And I want to
Mhm.
start with since we're talking about R&B, let's talk about Estelle because
Wow.
you raved about this song when we ended the first half of our honorary
Yes.
mentions, and like when I like most people in our world, we
Mhm.
got introduced to Estelle in like
Mhm.
2007. But if you looked at her back catalog, she's been around
Yeah.
since 2004. Did you get into her in 2004?
I might have heard a few wrinkles here and there, but
Mm,
I would attest that, yeah, for the most part, my relationship really does develop, in 2007, in 2007 when she, comes in courtesy of this whole new wave of like a whole new wave of British soul singers who definitely take elements of the past, but really kind of brought it like boldly into the 2000s, for which obviously, we have, we have Amy Winehouse who gets a lot of deserved credit for her, and, a woman who will be always forever be special in my heart when I, think of the great quality of music in the 2000s. But yes, it's the scene that brings Estelle. It's the scene that brings Adele. It's the scene that brings Duffy. Whole lot of mononyms here, and but and it's in that scene where unfortunately it can be a battle for attention, but I think Estelle, she came in like like into 2007 came 2007 2008 comes in guns ablazing, uh guns ablazing. I look back at Just One Touch as like, wow, this was just like, this is where soul music is going. Like, yo, sign me up. Like, so I was always game for Estelle. And of course, in that same scene, she would go she would collaborate with a certain acclaimed rapper at the time.
That dude from
And
Chicago, right?
yeah,
And we're not
and
talking about
for
Lupe.
you know, yeah, and for a song that I liked it. I liked it. I think it's
Y'all
great,
do.
but
Let's keep it real.
yeah, like I was singing, I was singing along to it. I mean,
It's an
unfortunately,
earworm.
yeah. Oh yeah. Unfortunately, unfortunately, back in my high school days, there was a girl in my like math class who looked exactly like Estelle, and everyone
Boy.
kept on making fun of the fact that she looks like Estelle. It's like,
No,
oh hey,
really?
it would be like, oh wow. It's like, it would be like, oh wow, hey, are you gonna sing about American boys? But it's like,
Oh,
she
that's
really,
petty. That's not
you know,
cool.
yeah, it was not, yeah, guy, it was not a good look. It was not a good
Hey,
look,
from the
but
classmates who
it
didn't
was
say they were
time.
sorry, we
Yeah,
apologize for that, Queen. For real.
yeah, but she was everywhere in the 2000s. What in the R&B circles, and that song like really like um really blew up for
It's
everything.
a classic
And
now at this point.
I agree so. And I guess it's all the more unfortunate why, in spite of the massive success of that song, it's Estelle, her star power, it doesn't really go as far as it should. And I guess,
Agreed.
and it's unfortunate because it's like in that same era, a contemporary, I know we don't like to think of her as such now, but but they definitely were contemporaries where they came in. You
Who?
know, Adele, like, she would just be allowed to kind of reach this mega superstar status with her
Oh, we know what
second
that's about. We know what that's about.
album. And
We know what that's about.
and so she would come out with an album that I thought should have gotten a whole lot more love than it does, because this song is just such a jam. It's just such a jam. It like immediately it just comes in. It just comes in, and Rick Ross, who like Rick Ross, who as his reputation is with always having a good ear for beats, is able to kind of like just easily segue. He knows what he's supposed to be on these songs. Hey,
Yes.
you're the rapper, you rap about how cool and tough you are, but yeah, I live a dangerous life, but I want you to be my down girl and stuff like that. And I'm so awesome. And he does it. He excels, man. I'm like, look, guys, I'm not gonna front, man. Like, dude, he once again, like his ear for good beats also comes with knowing how to flow in those good beats. If you want to give him credit for that, but so he just comes in and it's flowing, and it's brilliant. And then Estelle comes in, and she always had these brilliant star quality vocals. And she's like, hey, it's like, hey, if I let you into my life, please, I am giving you all this trust that you can fit into my life, and I am trusting you to not make me look like a fool. So, will you please do not break my heart? And man, this song should have been a hit, man. I should. Do you know how disappointed I am when I go to karaoke bars and they don't have this song, man? I want to embarrass myself at karaoke to this, man, because I feel what Estelle is saying, man. Jeez.
I'll say this. So it's like, in hindsight, I was on my phone a minute ago, just
Hmm.
glancing at her like discography. Estelle gave us not one, not two, not three, but five albums from 2004 to 2018. And like for the most part, for most Americans, we know Estelle for her voiceover work in Steven Universe. And so when I
Yes.
hear a song like Break My Heart, which I believe was like the lead single for the album All of Me, her third project, like it's almost in hindsight, it's almost as if Estelle's like singing to the industry or like the folks like who are like responsible for bringing Estelle, like keeping Estelle in our minds, you know, because I feel that especially for like American black people, we kind of like take a shit on like black folks who sing for a living who are from the United Kingdom, especially with the fact that like Estelle had the duality of being a rapper and being a singer. And I feel like most people
Hmm.
forget that she could do both things very well. And it's hard to like be I have observed that it's quite difficult to be both if like you're not seeing that consistently, you know, because like some artists like a Cardi or a Meg will dabble with like the singing, but we know them for the bars, you know. And like she who must not be named had the opportunity to be presented well as both. You know, like there is the era where she was rapping at us, but then there's also the era where she was singing at us a lot. And like, you know, not every songstress can cross over in that specific way. But the fact that like a song like Break My Heart wasn't like consistently spinning on like your mom's favorite R&B station here, I feel like is a bit of a downer, you know, because that's like when I hear that song, I'm like, this is radio song. This is radio music right here. Like this is like a late night cruising song. You're going out to like to dinner, you're going out to the club, and it's low key. You know what I'm saying? Like this is for the kickback. And like I do want
Yeah.
to point out, and since we're talking about Ross and stuff like that, immediately when I hear his name, like my nose crinkles up because I remember that awful verse that comes out a year later on a song I will not mention. And in addition to that, even if like he had like walked the path to redemption, which at this point is like never happening, and then in 2018 has a feature with Meek Mill and Jay Z on Meek's project where he drops like the F slur, and it's just like dude, Ross, like we we know about you. We know about your real life. We know what you do for this music, for this culture. You don't have to like you don't have to like puff your chest out so far, bud. We know what you're here to do. We know what you can do. He was on that God did song with like that hoe verse,
Hmm.
and it's like oh, it's almost as if I I was very just like underwhelmed by that song in general. So it's just like did you have to do all that? Like it's kind of hard for me to see Rick Ross the man when I see like hit Rick Ross the meme with the pears, with the camel, with the wing stop, you know, with the chain of himself wearing a chain of himself, with the ad libs, with Maybach music. It's there's a lot going on, and here
Hmm.
like with like because we often see Ross in these roles where he's just like playing like the suave guy, you know what I'm saying? Like he's gonna give you romance, he's gonna get you that he's gonna get you that dress you want, he's gonna get you those diamonds you want, he's gonna take you out for an expensive meal, you know what I'm saying? He's gonna
Hmm.
give you that Aston Martin music, you know what I'm saying? He's gonna give you that diced
Exactly.
pineapple, you know what I'm saying? But like it's I feel that like this is like Break My Heart is like a song, a record that like tests the waters. It's like are people biting for this? Like they it's almost like an appetizer, you know?
Hmm.
And so that and I feel like by us placing this song here is like this is what could have been if folks really were about that action. And if you still are, here's your opportunity. Here's your gateway
Yeah.
to getting into some R&B that was like otherwise neglected by the overall scene.
Yeah. And and in speaking about Estelle and Steven Universe, which I
Handle
feel.
acknowledged. If you know, you know.
Yes, yes, which I'll just say,
This is not the platform here for it.
yeah, yeah, and and this is not my opinion. I'm thankful to that show for
Very
what it
grateful.
allowed her to continue to be admired by a whole generation of kids that that stuff is going to go. That stuff
Cemented.
is good. Yeah, is cemented. So I will just speak on being thankful for that show for that, and that's where it answer. But yeah, Estelle. I mean, I hope that I think that uh, I think we've done a decent job in being able to kind of like to at least try to reconfigure our black, our black um
Heroes.
this yeah, black heroes in the
Titans.
R&B scene. And I mean, I think for example, like with how always made it clear that women like Jasmine Sullivan should get their flowers. And and I I think it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to really kind of like let the people who are here with us right now to let them know that, hey, you guys made stuff that means a lot to us. And I mean I think it's possible that Stell will be able to like be looked back fondly. Not, I mean, it probably still for American boys, but you know, maybe it can be more than American boys. Who knows? Who knows? But
One thing I will say about Jasmine Sullivan, since we mentioned her, like I
mhm,
shudder to think what like her legacy looks like if she doesn't drop like Hotels. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
that album came out of freaking nowhere, and I'm glad that like it had the splash that it did because she's underrated as hell. I didn't really
mhm,
care for I remember when I worked in the CD store back when I lived in Maryland at the mall,
mhm,
and like Dumb featuring Meek Mill was playing on like our TVs every day, and I'm like,
mhm,
this can't be it. Like if this there's definitely there's definitely way more in like in like on like the in the cards for Jasmine, and I didn't like. I feel like it's so man. Maybe this isn't the best example, but like I feel like her collab with Neek is like Estelle's collab with Rick Ross. It's like, could there be something here if we like really like develop that? Because some artists will drop a collab every album cycle, and it's like, oh, like of course they're getting back together again. It really works for them. You know what I'm saying? Definitely did have circles, and that paid off in dividends when like Meg sampled it later for her project, years later and stuff. But like now that I'm in her town, it's like, dang, like I feel like I'm missing out on something. Like I don't really occupy
mhm,
spaces where black music is like talked about consistently, and like I really, it's fascinating now that like I'm in the area and like Hotels happens, and like how does that impact like the landscape now that it's like cemented as one of the great like R&B projects that you have to hear to understand the genre and the culture and things of that nature. I also wanted to like it's I wanted to like kind of build a bridge to our next song, based on the fact that like Estelle is now established as a very successful voiceover actor, and I recall a specific sequel featuring one Pink, Happy Feet 2, where she took over as the lead role. And the last actress who was in that role passed, unfortunately. And so I want to like draw our attention to a song that we hear on the radio and all the big box stores across the country and around the world that does not suck. Because I hear "Don't Just Give Me a Reason" at my job, and I'm like, this is a really, really solid song, especially with the era that Pink finds herself in these days as a
mhm,
living legend, one of the best like pop singers that in the world that I occupy, like the rock scene, like the scene kid world. There exists a coin. On one side of this
mhm,
coin, we have Avril Lavigne. You know what I'm saying? Canadian pop punk goddess. On the other side is a Pink, an artist who was just like shoehorned into just like that blue-eyed soul R&B hip hop flavor. You know what I'm saying? It's like just like one of the guys, like a tomboy, misunderstood, you know what I'm saying? But just like makes a switch, like just puts on a whole new getup for like on I'm Not Dead with songs like You in Your Hand and just like Who Knew and things of that nature. It's just like, yo, Pink is a freaking badass. And I wish that like she's so since she's so like so mainstream, like of course, like she immediately makes that jump to stadium stuff because So What goes crazy, Glitter in the Air, like this is just like playing that at the Grammys, and she's doing that like insane, just like tumbling in the air and stuff like that. It's like, yo, like wow, 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 you know? And so I feel that just Give Me a Reason comes at an interesting point with both artists' career, you know, because Nate Ruess, I believe he's just like hot off this like the success of Fun. I don't think they had broken up yet, and unfortunately, man, like his solo run doesn't do as well as I would think that it should have done, because like that man is an incredible singer and a really great writer. Especially if you've heard that first Fun album, you know exactly what
Mhm,
the freak I mean. You know, like shout out to
mhm.
Bleachers, but like, bruh, like, can you imagine what like a Nate Ruess looks like if he had a Bleachers like budget for the albums that like Homeboy got the release? I can't even imagine that.
Yeah,
And not only that, since like Pink has such a great reputation with just like being a larger than life personality, being so nice, like her public, like you know, like how she's perceived in the public with Ellen and things like that, her relationship with her
mhm.
husband and daughters and things like that. And so like she appears in the Grammys like she usually does the twerk, does like the tumbling and twirling, comes down to the stage, goes into Just Give Me a Reason and hits like the note in the song. She's like, "We're complete," just like pitched way up, perfect. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if they edited that John live, but like whew, she was out here giving vocals, you know? And just I love this the way like what the fuck is that? Holy shit. Like that's this is what pop music is for. And I feel so passionately about that because I feel like if it feels like you're dancing with the notes when you hear them, and like it and like it tells a story. You know, like pretentious people who love music, like oh pop music doesn't tell any stories. I'm not really like getting into the heads of the characters. Like it's just like you know, it's the right amount of cheese on a triple cheeseburger. You know what I'm saying? I really like
I, yeah, you know,
please go
I
in.
will go into that, but cheese is such a it's an interesting thing to say because so much of like I think so much of the positive feelings I have for the song is that it kind of feels I don't know if it was intentional. It probably I'm not sure it was, but it feels like such a throwback to like those the days of 80s pop ballads. In fact, it
Hmm.
actually reminded me a lot of the famous well, I don't know if famous, but it's quite well liked collaboration between of two artists themselves. Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks, "Stop Dragging My Heart Around." It
Hmm.
it definitely gave me that same vibe, which oddly enough, the last time I thought a song gave me that vibe, I thought was John Mayer's and Taylor Swift's "Part of My Heart," but
Oh, half of my heart.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
Oh.
but I would much rather, but am completely fine with replacing that spot I had for that one and instead put in this one instead
Oh
because
yeah.
it is because yeah, you know, they really it really is a very well engineered song that you know you both of their presence it really does feel like a melding of a mind. It is Pink and Nate Ruess, not Pink, not featuring. And, you know, because it's like, I'm feeling that guy, man. I'm feeling that guy. And I'm feeling, you know, and he did, it definitely, and you're right, this does tell a story. It tells the story of of two people who love each other, who love each other, and are are aware of just how how much crap, how much headache comes from loving each other,
Mm.
but they still want to believe that it that despite all of it, despite every single piece of logic that says I should leave this person alone, this person makes sense in my life. And it's so illogical. It's so, and yet it is something believed so convincingly, and so ardently, and with power,
Oh
as which
yes.
is why, once again, delivered so well. Which is why, once again, I consider it it may be unintentional, but very much a throwback to the 80s power ballad era. Once again,
It's certainly a
Stevie
power ballad
Nicks.
in my way,
Yeah,
in my eyes. Yeah.
yeah, once again, Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks, Stop Dragging My Heart Around, very much about the same sentiment. So yeah, I feel the power, man. I mean, Nate Ruess, once again, and Fun, Fun, the band that set the world on fire,
Ha.
eh, in 2012,
The year previous.
2011.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, yo, because I had known about Fun way back since 2009 when it first came out, when they came out with their first album, and at that time they had this really cool song called "All the Pretty Girls," which
All
also,
the
which
pretty girls on a
yes,
Saturday night.
yes, and even then they were being compared to Queen. Even then they were being
Oh,
compared to
yes.
Queen. Yeah,
Yup.
and the thing about it was, fun. The thing with Fun was a lot of it was, oh hey, Nate Ruess, who was from this other band, The Format, a
That's who
brilliant,
it was. Thank
yeah,
you.
a brilliant indie power pop band from the 2000s, had a very beautiful song. I think She Doesn't Get It, which is probably one of the most charming songs ever. Most charming songs about falling in love too quickly and too hard, even and knowing it's going to be a disaster, but still doing that thing anyway.
Mm.
And the thing was, and the Format, they were one of those bands that should have been a huge hit, but they somehow weren't. And had Nick Ruiz just kind of been known as the Format guy for the rest of his life, he
For
would have
hipsters,
got,
zine kids.
he would have gotten all the great musical props he would have. I mean, I wonder now, if had Fun not been such a success, if like the Format would have had that interesting second life that American football ended up having.
Oh my God. Let's not even bring those guys up.
But I say that just to say that it, how all the more amazing and fascinating it is that he reaches this mainstream prominence with Fun and has a much bigger musical afterlife with that. And then, okay, after that he goes, you know Bleachers happens. Bleachers ends up being more well known, but Nate gets to do his thing. Nate gets to Nate gets to do tracks like this with Pink that are just one of the best highlights of Pink's career, in my opinion. And
Oh, easily.
because look, I'm not because look, I'm always gonna have my love for Pink, but when it comes to albums, kind of ends after the third one. Kind of ends up third, maybe fourth. Third, maybe fourth. Yeah, kind of ends for me. But I still gotta show her love when she delivers the heat,
She takes
and
risks, and
you know,
a lot of people in her world at her level do not do that. Like we may
yeah,
like there be lots of jokes and like the people for like Todd in the Shadows or like Diamond Axe Studios about like just like fire and things of that nature, but like
hmm
she tries stuff. Like I don't like Raise Your Glass as much as the next guy, but like her base, like, and like I specifically recall one time like she was playing a gig and she was playing Who Knew, which is another song I freaking love by her.
yeah,
And like it was just like her and the acoustic guitar player, and one of the folks in like the front row just starts boo-hooing, and she was just like, whoa, 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 are you good? And like this like checks in with this person to make sure they're like, oh, like, are you all right? I love this song too. It kind of does that to me every so once in a while. Can I give you a
mm,
snack? Let's sing this song together. Like, like there's a human there, and I really appreciate
yeah,
that. And like, I want to say, here's what I want to say before we move on. In regards to Nate Ruess, if you want to just like get into his head a little bit about like his roots and where he comes from, there's a band from Canada called Fucked Up, and their lead vocalist Damien has a podcast called Turned Out a Punk, and one of the episodes is with Nate, and it's so cool because he talks about how like like the Fun puts out that first album, but then like like while he's writing, he links up with this dude. And he's like, yo, I have this song. And he sings in the chorus to like, We Are Young. And the guy's like, get that made immediately, and so like, and that drops, and like so many things happen. Like the Super Bowl thing happens, they do the collab with Janelle Monáe, what I'm saying, like she's in the feature, and then like Glee freaking covers the song, and I hate the show after that point. But also he talks about how he met Brian Wilson from Beach Boys and they collabed on something, and he just like loses his noggin about it because he knows freaking Brian Wilson, And I also want to say, just to like put to like date myself, if you will, there was a band on Fuel by Ramen fronted by one Brendan Urie. And this was around the time in their career post Pretty Odd. Half the band is out of here, the primary songwriter for that matter. And so a song comes out called Come On, and it features Fun. And I think this, and I'm like, this is one of the greatest like piano-based rock songs I've ever heard in my entire life. It was giving Broadway. I would love to see Nate Ruess win a Tony for writing some songs for Broadway, because when I think about songs like Be Calm, or just like the piano ballad about like the man losing his wife and stuff like that, because there's so much there. That man's a really good freaking writer. Holy moly. I'm not surprised the piano player Fun like is like a soundtrack guy now. So like lots of neat stuff in regards to Nate. In regards to Pink, did a collab album with one Dallas Green from Alexis is on Fire, or Alice is on Fire, and City in Color. The project was called, I'm writing it down, You Plus Me, or You and Me. It's very like more like down tempo kind of stuff. If you just want like, if you like the Civil Wars, you'll like You and Me. You know what I'm saying? Because here you have just like two like veterans of just like that alt rock, folk, indie bullshit. Just like two people who I never thought make music together, let alone a whole freaking album. And that comes up much later in like those people's careers. But like, it's neat. You know what I'm saying? So speaking of neat things that like you may have never heard of before, no shade. Mide, I'd like to talk about a silent film. Of all the people we talk about here, this group and like Tim Fight were the only artists I did not recognize, I was not familiar with. And like I do especially love the millennial whoop on this song, Harbor Lights. Can you tell the people how you arrived to this particular band?
Okay, and I also have to and I have to be honest, because this wasn't the original final choice. Originally I was going to it was going to be Tell Me a Tale by Mr. Michael Kiwanaka, who's a very,
So
you know,
good, so underrated.
yeah,
Holy Christ.
very, very talented singer. But the only reason that I ended up replacing that with this song is that, I really aim to be honest with this list about, songs that I really, really feel like I had a relationship with in some way, like they really impacted me. And that's while that song impacted me, it was well past 2012, that for me to really kind of be honest about where I was in that kind of mind frame, because where you are in another year and all that stuff. But
Sure.
and which is all the more reason I was so happy that I refound this song. And and this was and just if there's one thing there's so many things. It's a song that just hits its beats so well, and if and much true to the band's name, a silent film. It's a very cinematic song. It's a song that really, it wants you to think, it wants you to know it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it is very much, and it's very much about this kind of a both reserved and yet melodramatic take on a lost romance, and two people who dearly love each other, who want to be with each other, and yet circumstances beyond their control keep on driving themselves apart. And I think, and at its heart, it's about, it's a song about heartache. It's a song about heartache and, processing what you're about to lose. And I think, I don't know. And, I'm not going to, I mean, I guess I can only really speak for myself, but I think when you're a person who has experienced that feeling of love and lost it, or had feelings that will never return, you kind of do this thing where you kind of romanticize what could have been. And in a way that it feels like that's what the song is. It's a person trying to process what he's not going to have by romanticizing what could have been and the wonderful connection he could have had with this person. Or so I would think, because because once again, true to the songs, it is the beginning, the middle, and an end, and it's ends. It's like, and the person is like, "Oh no, I will indeed wait for you." You like, no matter what, no matter what it takes, love will win in the end. Love will win in the end, and you know don't you just want to believe that love will win in the end, people? Don't you? Don't
I
we
do.
all just want to? Exactly. And that's why it just, and it is this dramatic, this steady punch, and it's a song that fully, in the story it's telling of guy and gal who are separated, but through some way they will find some way together. It speaks to ourselves, and why, I don't know there's why love is this thing that takes the love we seek is this it is this great endurance endeavor, and yet we kind of keep on going at it, and yet because we all want to believe that love can win, and maybe in some way love can win. Love, who's to say? Who's to say? And that's that's what I always found so fascinating. Well, what I found so fascinating about the song, and a silent film, they will have other solid, kind of like these cinematic type love stories, but they really got it down to a science with Harbor Lights. It's the song that reminds us of what we kind of like to think life is sometimes when it comes to love. And who knows? Who's to say it can't be like that?
I feel that like this song reminds people that like in spite of all that you throw at it, love will not fail. And like I mentioned before you even started talking about this record, I had never heard of this band before, never heard this song. And when I was sitting in my living room thinking, okay, time to prepare for the stream with Aelor today, I went into my kitchen and I was like getting a glass of water, listening to some of the songs I had forgotten about. And when this song came on, I there's something so reassuring about hearing a song for the first time, seemingly, and just like liking it right away. It's like I can always rely on Aelor to pick great songs because he has such great taste in music. And so I'm listening to this song, I'm enjoying this song, and I'm sitting down in this chair and I'm like, let me make sure I save this song because I do want to hear it again when I'm like hitting shuffle and whatever. And I go to my Spotify on my phone. I've already liked the song. So I had heard it before, but I had forgotten that I enjoyed it because, like folks like you and I, we hear a lot of songs and it's easy to forget them sometimes. And I'm so thankful for like a saving feature that will just be like, yo, I forgot about this song. I'm so glad to hear it again. And so I'm thank you. I'm very appreciative of this gift. Like that's what we mined through these years to just like rediscover, just like find gems that everyone should hear at least once in their lives. One might say it's a gift. So let's go to France and talk about the band Gojira. They are one of the. Do you want to go first? Go first. Go first. Go in.
Man,
Go
once
in.
again, this list, man, once again, like the eclectic punch, like once again to end all of his selections with this black metal song that is just truly just it just goes in so many in transit directions and rhythms that just are so perfectly in sync. And I can't. I'm trying to recall the rhythm. I think it goes like da, 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 and I'm like, yo, can Tech Nine?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, yo, can Tech Nine sample this part of the song and make a rap and make a song about it already? Like this it feels so much. This sounds like the stuff that Tech Nine would sample. Come on, Tech Nine. Come on. Dude, you don't even have to credit me. Just sample from this song already, man. But man, it's just man. And once again, there's just so many interesting intrinsic rhythms that this song just keeps going into and going into and going into and going into. And and if the song was such an instrumental, if the song was an instrumental, like that would be fascinating in and of itself. But you have these lyrics, which would you say that your fascination with this song was because you felt that there was a self-empowerment that came with it?
I would say that guilt on its own is a very powerful like presence in my life. If you don't mind me reading some of the fucking lyrics that like they wrote for this
Mhm.
song, shout out to Mario and Joe. Like the lead vocalist and guitarist is like brothers with the drummer. Yo,
Mhm.
Mario Duplantier, oh my freaking god, he's insane. Like just watching Mario play, wow, But just like we leave the shores to see the mountains rising, a distant impression growing. This judgment creates the pain we hold, destructive intention that serve no purpose but the end of us all. The shame and sorrow, self condemnation, fill all the gaps and spaces unyielding. Bestowed upon us devastating power, we're building connective tissue to a maze of lies. We are left as starving orphans. The vital core is gone. Our sins are over and over again we swallow. We're sick and tired when this wind blows. The reflex is insane. We must forgive and start blaming ourselves for this love. In all the hells and worlds, the time has come. These vultures from the past, coming in all the hells and worlds. The time has come. Delivered from their eyes, I'm leaving this behind, the gift of guilt. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Listen, so like again, I'm working at a DVD store, CD store, right? FYE, shout out to them for your entertainment.
Mhm.
And a street teamer from Roadrunner Records comes to the store. For those who don't know, Roadrunner Records is like the Slipknot label. Like they're the label that Turnstile is on. Shout out to DC, shout out to Baltimore. And
Stone Sour and
Stone Sour, come on.
yeah.
Now even Code Orange is on this label, right? And so like, yo, the label's like wanted to give out these CDs. So like if anyone buys metal, give them this, it's for free. And I'm like, holy shit, that's so cool because my like infatuation and like passion for metal lives online. I don't really show it with my parents and siblings very often. A lot of my friends who love this heavy shit, I don't see very often. It's rare when we get to like fan out about this shit in public. And so to see, oh, like this is to see that like the scene that I love is real, like people like passionately go out to like spread the music around wasn't I could not fathom such a thing. So I take one of the samplers home with me and I put it on my iPod, and The Gift of Guilt was one of the songs. And I knew Gojira by name, but I had not listened to them. And like, oh my God. What's so like weird crazy about like this song, The Gift of Guilt, on this album, Les Enfants Sauvages, like the Wild Child in French. I probably sure I mispronounced the hell out of that. There are 5 singles for this album, and this isn't even one of the singles. And I'm like, how? And
Mm.
I remember making a playlist with a friend on YouTube, trying to find like a good quality rip of this song. And there's like an 8-minute version of this song via Roadrunner Records. And it's like, I just love when like a song that's not a single gets such love from like the fans, and just like the way that the drums are kicking in. I get the and shit like that. It's
Again,
like
Tech Nine, please sample that. Like, please sample that already. Come on, Tech Nine, come on, man. Seriously.
we should just think Twista come out of retirement, make him do it instead.
Yeah, jeez. But so
just I
yeah, yeah.
You
And
first. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
So like, and I think and it's all the more fascinating is that there are, once again, the intrinsic rhythms and stuff like that, but it's just when you think it's just going to focus and make that cool riff its main focal point, it comes with another, and it comes with another, and it comes with another, you know.
Yeah. And
And
just so the metal nerds don't
yeah.
like kill us for this, I don't know if like technically like the subgenres of this album falls into our technical and progressive metal, but like I think I feel a little bit of blackened when I like hear this. Like I do think that like people from like Death Heaven and like bands like that hear Go Jerry and be like, oh yeah, like this shit is very dull, very cold, you know what I'm saying? But
Oh yeah, it also kind of got tagged in with groove metal, which I
tech
think
death, I do love the term tech death
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
and yeah, and once again, like, look, and the fact that I can point out, we can point out rappers that we think would do a good job with sampling some of the rhythms should also kind of speak to how just really good the rhythms could be in a more kind of soulful environment, this
Literally,
still sound, yeah, which once again, that's like, that's just that's something you need in a metal band, that's something you need in a jazz band, that's something you need a soul band, with that kind of rhythmic chemistry, man.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, only because literally this evening when I'm like pulling links together and things of that nature, I see in my like featured, like I'm on the homepage of YouTube, and some bassist, like, have you heard the song Bleed by Meshuggah before?
Hmm.
Like someone took the rhythm from that song and played Superstition by Stevie Wonder. And I haven't listened to it yet, but I know it's gonna be freaking brilliant. It's only like a minute clip, but just like the fact that somebody like thought, oh, like this is perfect. And like I don't know if Stevie Wonder's ever heard Meshuggah, and I think even he would like it, because we know that we both know that like Stevie Wonder is a very capable drummer and things of that
Yeah, yeah,
nature. I don't think he's playing those kind of hurdas in his own song, but just like, and fun fact, like Tomas Hawk told Andy Hurley from Fall Out Boy that like he doesn't like to practice, which is so just like
yeah.
it makes my brain melt out of my ears that like one of the greatest drummers of all time is just like, I don't enjoy practicing very much. Just play the gig, go home, and go to sleep. Get You're not people who are people who are just like criminally talented. Stop talking to me. Like if you're not a great teacher, just like I don't know, I just do the thing. Like go home. I'm sick of you. Like
Hmm.
bonkers bananas town. I won't say it anymore. I'm just, if you need like, oh, I'm not sure where to start, this is where you start. Songs like Explosia, The Axe, and just like the lyrical foundations of this band are based in like environmentalism, veganism, spirituality, and in a way that's just like not like poking fun at it, but it's just like, just like pondering, like, like these sort of things are kind of taken lightly, like one could say religion ruins most things. One can say there's like veganism is hard to do when like you don't have a lot of resources, when you live in food deserts, and like environmentalism is just like ignored by all the major like governments of the world. But like that's where songs like this are so significant. They were out for a Grammy later on in their careers and lost to freaking Megadeth, which I think is super ironic if you know anything about that band. And not even at the height of like their powers. And like Megadeth now sounds better than Megadeth at the time they got nominated for a freaking Grammy, dude. So they had like, if I can rant for a little moment, they had a song on that album, was called Magma, and they lost a family member, and they wrote a song about like losing this family member. And like once, and I already liked the song a lot, but just knowing like what it was about, and it had a really killer riff, just knowing that like, oh, like this was a song in memoriam, and it lost a freaking Megadeth, the conspiracy theory nuts. I need
I
someone to bring
don't
up I need
I
someone to bring
don't
up my.
respect it, man. I no to Dave Mustaine. To Dave Mustaine. When I see
I
you
don't like
making
the look
music,
of it.
I don't respect it, man. I don't respect it.
That
But
man is messy in public.
but yeah, go on, go on, go on.
In order to bring up the mood and put a cap on this just like very fun exchange, Let and we've been talking all this time about heartbreak. Why don't we talk about the one who broke who wait, the one who broke your heart by David Byrne and St. Vincent. My friend, this song is so much fucking fun. Like,
uh,
wait. I believe it was Tyler the Creator who once said, "Bring in the horns." Are you fucking kidding me?
yes.
This song is so good. Talk your shit,
Uh,
bro.
Hey, well, I'm glad that you liked it. I'm glad that yeah, I'm glad that you find it so fascinating. It's like definitely I would say it's such a um, to be very honest, "Loved Is Giant," the collaboration album for which this song is on, it features quite so many brilliant quality songs from like from Who to Weekend in the Dust, which Dinner for Two, Ice Age. Dare really so really it was quite it was quite a task picking just
I should watch
one
TV.
song. Yes, yeah, Optimus, So it was quite a task just picking one song, but it's just something about a song that truly encompasses everything that is just so absolutely brilliant about this album. And it is, yes, the one who broke your heart, which it's just from right from the get go, right, Mr. Byrne, he's really kind of bringing his typical idiosyncratic lyrics. But I think the thing that's so fascinating about David Byrne and why I consider this like one of the best, like in his top five best post Talking Heads releases ever, is that while obviously he's never been a stranger to groove based songs,
Agreed.
danceable song. But there's something there's just but the thing is there's something where it's not like it's not because it's so even when it comes from a soul influence, because David Byrne, he is influenced by soul music, but he always kind of felt he needed to kind of like rhythmically dress it up in a kind of semi-ironic way. I mean, it's not that his
See
love
that.
for it was ironic. It's not that his love for it was ironic, but it was how he felt he needed to deliver that love to you was the irony. I mean, like take for example, listen to the original version of Al Green's "Take Me to the River," and then listen to the Talking Heads cover on their second album, "More Buildings," more songs about buildings and food. I mean, once again, they obviously loved Al Green, but they always kind of felt they needed to dress it up in a kind of ironic-ish way. There's something about that where even though his typical lyrical idiosyncraticness is there, you know, because it feels because you have these brass instruments that have not a tinge of irony in them, that kind of just delivering this straight kind of soulful message to you, that it's like it's a much different energy than I typically kind of hear from David Byrne, and it's something that it grabs you at that moment, and so great at it. I mean, once again, Love This Giant, this collaboration between him and Miss Annie Clark herself, Saint Vincent. I
Daddy's
I
home.
you know I think what is so great about it is that despite the fact that Annie, sorry, why am I calling her by her birth name as if I
You don't know her
actually know
like
her?
that. Don't say
Sorry,
your
sorry.
government name and shit.
Saint Vincent. Sorry, despite the fact that Saint Vincent, was the newcomer compared to him, even though she has been releasing albums since 2007. You know, she just comes in. She holds her own, man. She holds her own. Like, to those who don't know, like, with the exception of, I think it I believe, it's not like, I think The Forest Awakes. Yes, The Forest Awakes. Or The Force Awakes. Any song that Saint Vincent is singing in that album is a song that she wrote for herself. With,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. The Force Awakes. The Force Awakes is the only song that was written by David Byrne, but she was singing herself. And
okay.
believe me, it very much sounds like David Byrne, like a David Byrne song. But compliment and everything. But I think, but I think what I just find what so and I think that's just what it says about it, that you have a person who, okay, had released albums, but still kind of considered a newcomer, versus a person whose legend in rock, in music, was already so cemented, and yet it does not feel like either person is overtaking the other. It does feel like a brilliant
Absolutely not.
melding of the mind. And I think it helps that it was kind of uncharted territory for both of them, because, you know, Saint Vincent had already established herself for her guitar wizardry indie thing. And once again, David Byrne, so much of his Talking Heads work is very kind of groove based world music. Though he would have other interesting collaborations. This other collaboration he did with Brian Eno, who had produced some
Sense.
of Talking Heads seminal albums, as well as a collaboration he did, I believe it was Fat Boy Slim. The no no Here Lies Love,
Mm.
which was the interesting, which, funny enough, Saint Vincent is also on that album,
Oh wow.
which was this interesting concept album of the life of Imelda Marcos, who was um, one of the former queens or first ladies of the Philippines. But
Wow.
so I mentioned this to say that David Byrne had been releasing interesting records all to hear. It's not as if, and yet what stands out in with Love This Giant is because there is this one limitation of, like, hey, it has to we're making a brass album. We can't just, you know, St. Vincent can't rely on her guitar wizardry, and Byrne can't rely on his vastness of just of like all around region music. It has to kind of just stick with working with these brass instruments, and what they're able to kind of do with that is just so amazing, and it speaks to their brilliant musical imagination. I mean, I think the interesting thing, like Saint Vincent, if you've seen the album cover, it's like David Byrne looking incredibly handsome, and Saint Vincent's looking kind of monstrous. And I know, I know, Saint Vincent, and I think it was mainly just applied to that album cover. But I know Saint Vincent kind of always said something to the effect of how she kind of considered herself like, yes, kind of like the beast to David Byrne's beauty. It's why I always kind of came up with it, because I kind of came up with a concept of, like, and I once had an idea that you could make a concept album out of this, about about a journalist who always felt like she was an ugly duckling, interviewing a renowned billionaire guy, and them falling in love. I never actually knew what to do with that concept back when I used to listen to
I'll
that.
give away all your secrets.
Jeez. If I was to do it now, revisit it now, I would probably make it a huge commentary on income inequality, which I don't
There you
know.
go.
I don't know,
Who's
but
gonna write that? But except you, right?
you know, yeah, so just, hey, David Byrne, St. Vincent, putting that out there. I would love to make a potential opera out of your album, but
Boom.
yeah, it's funny listening to this, not just with David Byrne and his musical legacy, and how this is something unique even within it, but also just where St. Vincent was in her career, and how,
3 albums
right,
in.
yes, and right after this, she would release what I can kind of consider her magnum opus. I'm sure that those who disagree. It's all good. It's go. But I consider her magnum opus her self-titled fourth album, which, like,
Digital
really,
Witness, baby.
yeah, like, if ever there was an album where all the stars aligned for its creation, it was that song. And I think it was, I feel like, in a way, her getting to work with David Byrne, and her being in a situation where she absolutely felt she could hold her own with a guy who's already a legend, really kind of just really just helped her foster herself into her fourth album
Passing of the torch.
which and I feel like, it was with that album that Saint Vincent. I've always said that that album is when David Byrne isn't an influence, it's when David Byrne becomes a contemporary. Because, after that, I mean, like, her recent stuff, which I think it's cool, it's cool. I dig it, She's still very much ambitious, but there's just something about what she did with that fourth album that was just
That was the shift.
that. Yeah, and honestly, she has nothing to prove. She has nothing to prove to me anymore. Because, but yeah, but it's, I mean, once again, once again, to take it all back to the one who broke your heart, which I don't, which, yes, there's this kind of ironic, ooh, ooh, ha ha ha, this upbeat song about heartache, and also, kind of, in a way, how we kind of have to pretend as if we're not, as if hard stuff doesn't bother us, and how we sometimes, and I've definitely been in situations where I have to kind of be overtly friendly, overtly theatrical in how much I don't feel like something bothers me when it comes to that. And
Wubba lubba dub dub.
yeah, and so much, and even with that, so much is just happening. So much is just happening with the song. There's all these brilliant musical breaks, and the the once again, the imagination that Byrne and Saint Vincent show with how they can utilize brass instruments. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's soulful, yet it doesn't feel like it's trying to be. It's rocking, doesn't feel like it's trying to be. It feels like so many things, and yet it's not really trying to be.
For me personally, I hear this song and I think of like two things like jump out at me. One, I think of the song by They Might Be Giants, Museum of Idiots, just with how like the song is arranged. But then I also think about how like this, like, oh, I like to play a song like a party or a wedding, but like, wait, this song is not appropriate at a wedding. But then again, people play like Before I Let Go and Pretty Wings at every black wedding you could think
Uh,
of. So like all
um,
bets are off. I'm playing this like at the
every
next.
breath you take. Yeah, every breath you take. Yeah,
No,
they
don't even
dictate.
see, man. Fuck you, Sting. First of all right, next chapter.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Before I say anything else, like, dude, we're done, and like, but not we're not done. If you know what I mean. Like,
Hmm.
we want to be back. Maybe at the end of the month. I don't know. Maybe next month. And
Hmm.
just like bring things forward to last year because for some freaking reason we're still in a pandemic and like these last 2 years are like a slurry of months and weeks and days. And like so much great stuff happened in music over these last 2 years when we've been in like faux lockdown. And so
Hmm.
like I wanna now that we've like just taken a long look back at what's happened to us musically, I wanna let's see how like these little bits and bobs influenced our taste only a year ago. Because like for like
Mhm,
it again, it's September right now in 2022, and
mhm.
like I don't even remember what happened in September of 2021. But I'm hoping when I like examine these songs, I'll be back. You know, like because in so many ways everything was so different then than it is right now, and
Yeah,
I can't even imagine what life will be like in September next year, let alone what music will be like. And so if you enjoy what you heard here tonight, or I guess this morning at this point, if you're on the EST, you're really gonna love what we do next. I'm hoping to get like some commissioned art. So like when we come to that point, like we're hoping that you'll join us. If you again in the description you'll find the playlist that we made for these last two streams we've done together. You can find our Twitter accounts and you can find some mutual aid if you have disposable income and wish to like change the world financially for somebody who really deserves it. You can do that. Um, so, Aolor Argentel, the living abstraction himself, thank you for joining me and trusting me to like bring us through this place and discuss such great records. Like I discovered some new stuff because of you, and I'm so very thankful for like your artistic vision and insight on all these things. Like I said it previously, and I'm gonna say it again. When this guy right next to me is like doing his movie shit, watch, we're gonna be at the motherfucking Emmys ourselves, okay? like
I
like my boy who Gerard Carmichael is like, I came to win. That'll be us. We'll be the
yeah.
winners, okay? Dripped out in the latest fashions, like painted nails, like swaggy shoes. I don't fucking know. um is there anything you'd like to add to the people out there before we get the heck out of here?
Oh, but hey, just once again, thank you to anyone who's been listening to us. I mean, I don't know if I haven't been able to check any of the comments. Unfortunately.
It's just you, me, V, and
Okay.
Precious T. So shout out to us.
Okay, and like and thank you guys for coming in here and just be like letting us talk about our relationship with music and just the evolution we've had to be we feel like these songs have helped take us to, and why they are so fascinating with us. It's quite an honor to be here, and I truly do hope you guys were entertained by this, because and hey, if the good fate um should have it so, I would love to come back and come back. But thank you guys. You know,
Okay, so how we usually end this thing, same as before. Like I've hinted at, like there are a lot of diseases out there that can get you very sick, and I'd love for you to be healthy and have a long life. So when you leave your home, please wear a mask over your nose, under your mouth. Otherwise, it will not work. Um, please drink plenty of water. I'm gonna have a sip right now on camera. Water's good for you. Please drink it.
mhm.
Um, Black Lives Matter. Queer Lives Matter. Um, here's a weird take. Vote. Boom. You see that? That's me and him. Vote. Like perhaps you don't have the answers to how you can change the world. And for most of us, that's Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Like you can find a lot of explanations for the world, what's happening out there on that site. But maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you don't want to like watch the news. Maybe you don't want to read a newspaper or a magazine. Get involved. Like talk to your neighbors, introduce yourself. Here's something I'll say. If you see something, say something. I was recently in a situation where I felt like something was wrong and I spoke up, and it was painful when I did so, but I'm glad that I did so. And so take a self-defense class, wear a whistle, like carry some mace, carry a taser. Please protect yourself. Like it's a very just like scary times out there in the world. Just like
Mhm.
watch the like. There's a great band from California called Zulu, and their
Mhm.
latest EP ends with like a voicemail, and like the person says like, watch the ones you like carry vibes with. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that the folks you have around you have your best interest in mind. You know, like recently, um artist PNB Rock was killed, and I'm upset because here's a person who was well known, relatively speaking, right? Why wasn't the people who signed him making sure that he was walking around with security? You know what I'm saying? Like he had spoken publicly in at least two instances where like how like things were kind of shaky where he was living at the time. And if a friend of mine who's well known is concerned for like their concern from when they come and go, I would want to be with them or ensure that they would be safe. Like people who are famous aren't like gods or whatever, and we hold a lot of we hold people who create things we enjoy in high esteem, but just like I don't know, homie, but like I don't like to see people who look like me go before their time. And life
Yeah.
isn't promised and whatever, but like I would like to live until I'm at least 80 years old before I don't know, like I go in my sleep or something like that. So just some things that have been on my mind that I'd like you all to be cognizant of. Last thing before we go, if you can do me a favor, if not tonight, then in the morning, after you're done like washing your face and brushing your teeth and flossing, look at yourself in the mirror, look yourself dead in the eye, and say without irony, I love you. Please say I love you to yourself. If that is not something you can do, I understand. Life is hard. Mental health is a battle. Please know that Aelor and myself love you unconditionally in the most platonic and supportive way possible. And there's like this white dude I follow on TikTok who has this saying, which means a lot to me these days. Life is good, but music is better. Shout out to Todd and shout out to We the Punk for the Punks. Shout out to How You Really Feeling. Shout out to Soul Smile. And with that, my friend, Aelor, Living Abstraction, please say goodbye to the people.
Just goodbye, but not forever. But goodbye with more hellos in the future.
Godspeed. We'll see y'all soon. Thanks again for listening.
Mhm.